The game opens with a clip from the movie that shows Nemo being abducted by the diver and hauled off on a boat. After this, we jump straight into the game. Marlin meets Dory, and this is where it all starts. Head on over to the next screen and you'll encounter something pretty neat. You see, what makes Finding Nemo different from Freddi Fish is its interesting character swap mechanic. Throughout the game, you can alternate between Nemo and the pair of Marlin and Dory. After being shown this new mechanic, you can choose to either keep playing as Marlin and Dory, or start Nemo's story in the tank. In my first playthrough, I choose to play as Nemo, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to continue as Marlin and Dory. From here, you can head towards the wreckage. Another clip from the movie plays, and after speaking with Bruce, Anchor, and Chum, our heroes are tasked with finding Anchor's missing fish friend. You find Anchor's friend hiding in a broken vault filled with clocks, tableware, and apparently several sets of what I can only assume are glass eyes. Anyways, Marlin and Dory take him back to Anchor, and he moves, allowing the two to grab the scuba mask. After getting the mask, Marlin expresses that he can't read humans, so Dory grabs the mask and tries to ask the sharks. Marlin, who is still very afraid of the sharks, tries to stop Dory. Two fight over the mask for a bit, and Dory gets hit by the mask, making her bleed. Bruce, who is not too far away, smells the blood and goes into a primal fish-eating state. He then chases the two out of the boat into a torpedo hole? I don't know what to call it. Anyways, another clip from the movie plays, there's a funny fart joke, and now we find Marlin and Dory looking down the underwater ravine where the mask fell. And it's time for a minigame. In this very fun and not annoying minigame, you control Marlin and have to lead the anglerfish towards Dory so she can read the address on the mask. But if Marlin gets hit, he swims all the way across the screen, letting the angler get to Dory, which makes her swim to a different spot too. After that mess, the two leave the ravine and head to the next screen and are greeted by a school of fish that tells them to go that way. Right, that way. Anyways, you move to the next screen and now it's time for the next minigame. Yeah, it's pretty fun, I guess. After making it through the jellyfish forest, Marlin and Dory are found on the back of Crush's shell, riding the East Australia Current. At this point in the game, if you haven't finished Nemo's story yet, the Marlin and Dory line is halted, and you have to go to progress on Nemo's side. This section of the game is where the rich and complex dialogue truly shines.
Darla, she is bad.
Yeah, she is bad. It starts with Nemo being greeted by Gil. Gil gives Nemo a totem pole and tells him to collect all 6 totems from the residents of the tank. To summarize, this is what you have to do. First you go to Bloat, he just gives you the totem pole, then you go to Peach and she'll tell you she's looking for her frond, which is just a fancy word for leaf. Okay, now we gotta find a stupid leaf. Go to Gurgle and he'll complain about you being dirty. Okay, now go to Jacques and get yourself cleaned. He'll give you a message that you then have to bring back to Gurgle, which is when you find out poor sweet little Nemo is gonna be Darla's pet. Gurgle wants to find out how much time you have left, so go back to Peach, learn how to count to 3, and bring the message back to Gurgle. Okay, now we're done with Gurgle. Go across the tank to where Deb is, click on the snail because he's funny, and learn that Deb has problems and won't give you the frond unless you give her the pearl. Go over to Bubbles and oh, what's that? There's a pearl right there. Talk to Bubbles and he tells you his chest won't open. So go back to Jacques and oh, what's that? There's keys right behind him. Lodge in a diver track. Do a fun and very easy minigame meant for children that I'm very good at, and get the keys from Jacques. Go back to Bubbles, choose the right key, and open his chest. Now we can finally get the...
Bubbles! Bubbles! Nemo, if you bring me the golden bubble, I will trade you for this bubble.
Okay, click slightly above the chest and play a minigame that's all about what you've been doing the whole game. Get the somehow tangible yellow bubble and bring it back to Bubbles. Take the pearl, go back to Deb, get the frond, and give it to Peach. After that, bring the totems to Gil, and you're done. After meeting all the fish in the tank, Gil says Nemo needs to become a better swimmer. You know, because he's got a bit of a problem. So now it's time for the next minigame. It's just patterns. Do the patterns. I think the third one is a little harder or something, I don't know. After that, Gil tells Nemo to collect a few rocks, because apparently, he can't find any. Once you find the rocks and bring them back to Gil, it's time for another minigame. You ever have one of those toys where you put the square block in the square hole and the triangle block in the triangle hole? It's like that, but with Nemo. It's cooler because it's Nemo. After that, Nemo's story is grinded to a halt, and it's time for Marlin and Dory. The two jump into the current tube, and oh, look at that, it's time for another minigame. I gotta say, for a 7-year-old, this is probably gonna be the most entertaining minigame. I mean, it's got Marlin and Dory going through a fast current while collecting flags. After that, it's back to Nemo, and he's trapped in a pipe with some crabs on top. Nemo can't get out because of them, so guess what? Time for another minigame. This one's just Simon Says, but with gross ocean pipes. After the crabs are flung off, Nemo is reunited with Marlin. Oh, but that's not the end. Dory, along with hundreds of other fish, are swept up in a fishing boat's net. You know, like the movie. Like the scene in the movie. So now we've finally made it. The final minigame, and guess what? It is whack-a-mole. But like reverse, kinda? I don't know. You click on the fish, and they stay there. But if you take too long to click on them, they swim away and you have to wait for them to come back, and also you have to manage the fish that have already shown up. So like they'll start wiggling a little bit. Sometimes it's pretty funny looking, and it's annoying if you're bad at being fast at clicking, but luckily I'm pretty good at the game, so yeah. Once the minigame is over, the net snaps, and Nemo lives happily ever after with his dad and Dory.